Hey, welcome back to MillennialTheraMom. Today, I want to share 5 ways that motherhood transformed me, and it might be transforming you too. And that's okay. So keep watching. So first is that there was this huge identity shift, which actually is called matrescence and is newly coming around as a term that's being talked about, but definitely still more awareness and education around is needed. I'll link here a little YouTube clip that I had originally watched that showed me what matrescence was, and I was like, wow, this is exactly what I'm feeling. But essentially, it's this process of becoming a mother. And fathers have their own matrescence as well. But similarly to adolescence, I mean, y'all remember the hormones, the change, the shifts, what's important to me, all of that is valid to also experience in new parenthood. Whatever timeline you experience it, whether you're like, oh, snaps, I have a 17-year-old and I think I'm going through matrescence. Yep, you probably are, and that's okay. Or if you're pregnant or even anticipating potentially having a child in the future, you can already start seeing the world different. Maybe your values start shifting, your priorities, and your sense of self, not just your role. So that's one way that I encourage us all to let matrescence transform us, change our values, change our priorities. We're going to be okay. Two is those physical and hormonal changes. So our body goes through so much change and even beyond birth. I mean, like my body looks different. And I think this whole bounce back culture, we got to get rid of all of that because there is no bouncing back to a role, like to a time when you were not holding that role. When your body had not expanded in such ways, when your organs hadn't shifted, when your hormones didn't fire off at certain areas, right? And even now, sometimes I'm like, I think like this might be a little TMI, but I'm like, I feel like I'm a little stinkier since becoming a mom. I'm like, is anybody else going through that? Anybody else feel like, whoa, my hormones are like on full effect now? And that's just one thing, right? Or my stretch marks that I still have, or my changing body. And my encouragement to you is that there is nothing wrong with you if your body is changed. This is part of the process. And please let's not let media and certain celebrity postpartum experiences make us feel like that's what I need to be looking like. I need to be fitting in the same clothes and I need to be doing all these intense workouts. Like there's also a season of postpartum when you really cannot move your body in the same ways. For example, I used to squat like I don't know, 100 pounds or something at the gym before being pregnant. And then when I had my baby, it took me a while to finally build that strength for my body to regain its strength. So that's two. I don't want to go to a TED talk again. Three is I do feel like there is this huge emotional expansion. Like I feel new levels of love. It's scary sometimes, but it's such a profound joy at the same time. I have different vulnerabilities. I am in my own spiritual awakening journey where I'm trying to figure out like what do I want to pass on to my child? What do I want to model for her in my life? The awareness, the self-awareness is real. Some people sometimes get afraid of the self-awareness because they realize they get triggered or they're feeling something in their body, guilt or shame or flashbacks, and then they push it down. But one thing that I'm learning is that we need to bring those experiences to the light to really speak to them and be like, oh, okay, that makes sense that you're feeling really vulnerable right now. You had a weird relationship with your own mother, and now when your daughter does things that you did, you're feeling like you're giving her something you never had. That's just one example, right? But everybody has their own raw experience of postpartum that opens up these emotions, and emotions are not bad. Like emotions need motion. They need to be seen. And oftentimes emotions point to our values and our priorities. So that matrescence, that identity shift we were talking about, it's probably also coming out in your emotions because now maybe certain things are triggering you in ways that didn't before. And I think just get curious with that part of you and say, ooh, where is this rage coming from? Something then is not fair or just here because that's usually when my rage pops up. All right, now what do I want to address it? And baby steps. I'm saying this again about 18 months postpartum. So I had to learn a lot of new skills, communication skills, deep breathing skills, and all that to be able to communicate. But again, this is very normal and very valid. If you're also in this journey, I see you. or relationship. So motherhood can transform your relationship with your partner, your parents, your friends, with yourself. Like I have discovered so much of my own self-talk and my own inner niña in motherhood that I'm like, wow, this stuff is deep. And then I see how that even plays out with my husband, with my in-laws, with my mom, like with my family, and how I would love to be there in certain ways. And I have to remind myself, like, my capacity has changed. I can no longer be there in that way. Doesn't mean I can't still show up and be a loving person, but maybe I can't be the same person that I used to be in that relationship. So, giving yourself grace in that when you're not meeting your own standards is extremely important. And also applying that self compassion practice I talked about. So, I'll link it here. But we really need to be aware of how much relational energy do I have right now? Which relationships do I want to keep building? And what is my current capacity so that we don't try to do too much? Because when we do too much, we burn out and we end up, some of us, guilty, end up just avoiding and shutting down if we're overwhelmed. So it's much better to create rhythms that are healthy and capacities and expectations that are healthy than like going full force and then shutting down, full force, shutting down. I rather kind of like so this is I'm doing YouTube, because all of this, I would like y'all to see this, because I don't know how I could get it on a podcast and explain it there. But anywho, number 5 is reconnection with purpose. I know personally, I mean, if you know my story, MillennialTheraMom started when I was about 3 months postpartum on Instagram. And then I was about 6 months postpartum when I posted my first YouTube video. And I really was like, wow, I feel like there's something missing. Why are not more parents getting the support they need? Why are so many parents doing this alone? And also, like, why is there such inaccessible postpartum care for women of color too? Or things that actually connect to my culture? So this past year and a half has been a whole kind of like slowing down to see like what's in my heart now and what do I feel like I could contribute to the world in a way that feels aligned. Like I mentioned, spiritual alignment is definitely on my radar. So like what makes my spirit feel like this is what you were meant to do. So those are just 5 ways that motherhood has changed and transformed me that you might also be going through. I'm curious. Let me know in the chat if there's any 1 or 2 or 5, whatever, that apply to you. And I'm just want to just hear about your experiences through it. There is no fixing any of these. These are just things that happen, and trying to meet ourselves with self-compassion and love. And all of this is key. So I hope that you just continue to take care of yourself. Follow, subscribe, and take care. Bye.